It's Legal AF at the midweek. Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, Michael Popok. God, we have so much to talk about at the intersection of law and politics. Let's go. We got the Manhattan DA case, 34 felony count conviction of Donald Trump. But the Donald Trumps is just a pesky little case that can just be dismissed by the judge. So they don't want to be bothered with vacating a jury conviction. And we have two pieces of paper in the last couple of days, including one today, trying to urge Judge Merchan on the Trump side to immediately dismiss the case. He's the president-elect, and don't even bother going to sentencing. And the Manhattan DA's office saying, well, not so fast. Time heals all wounds. Time resolves all temporary immunities. Why don't we just go through the process now? And then when we come out the other side, he can start serving any future sentence after he comes out of being president. Felon in 2029. That's our new motto. We'll talk about what's going on and what Judge Merchan is likely to do next. Then we'll move on to the confirmation process of some cabinet members, including the person being nominated to head the Department of Justice, Matt Gaetz. The closest he's ever gotten to the Department of Justice as a practicing lawyer, if you will, is when he was on the other side of a criminal investigation as to whether he sex trafficked underage girls. And now the Ethics Committee has met today after a 5-day delay or so and decided what to do about that pesky little report that they prepared after a year and a half or 2 years of an investigation. What will happen to that report? Will it get to the Senate Judiciary Committee for consideration on January 3rd? You know, confirmation starts before the president even takes his oath of office. Will the Senate Republicans, led by some of the women senators, get their hands on that report? Will the public? And if they don't, what about the hackers? Because we have reporting that the litigation files of the two wingmen of Matt Gaetz involved in the alleged sex trafficking, the files were breached and secret eyewitness sworn testimony was downloaded. It's going to be a race. Is it going to be the Senate Judiciary Committee, the House Ethics Committee releasing the report, or the hackers releasing it, hopefully redacting the names of the witnesses as new receipts come popping out? Actually, receipts we've known about for quite some time. It's just getting re-reported now by mainstream media. We've got the Venmo receipts by Matt Gaetz for this raping of underage women as alleged. We've got the checks he wrote. You know, stuff like that. We'll catch everybody up related to that. We've got Jan 6th insurrectionists who are acting out again in court now that their fearless leader has been elected again, saying that their sentencing should be postponed, or they shouldn't get sentenced at all, or the trial should be postponed, or things like that, because they're getting a golden pardon from Donald Trump. They've already applied for it. They've already spoken to people in the transition committee. Judge, you shouldn't do anything else. And some of the judges in the District of Columbia are firing back and getting upset and saying it's a travesty that Donald Trump would just blanket pardon all of these people, including the ones that committed assault with a deadly weapon and tried to kill law enforcement. We'll cover some recent comments by Judge Nichols, some actions by Judge Contreras and Judge Friedrich, and what it all means now that Donald Trump won re-election or election 2 weeks ago. And then Rudy, wow. I know people are thinking, are we going to hear about the Mercedes-Benz again? No, this isn't about the Mercedes-Benz. This is about a brand new motion filed today for contempt, not in New York, where the judgment and the $150 million related to Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss is being litigated and presided over by Judge Lyman. No. We're going back in time, way back to one of the oldies but goodies, Judge Beryl Howell, who presided over the actual defamation case. And there's speaking of pesky little facts, Rudy Giuliani entered into a consent decree to avoid future litigation, in which he agreed not to bash Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss ever again. And then in 2 times on his podcast, he did exactly that and then bashed the judge for good measure. Well, she scheduled a hearing on that, and we'll talk about all that at the midweek on Legal AF. You're here already, hit the subscribe button. Might as well. We need it after on the other side of Tuesday to continue to grow our pro-democracy community. I can't think of anybody better to do this midweek with as my partner for the last 4 years, Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Karen, how are you?
I have a bit of a cold, but otherwise I'm doing great. Today I'm kind of weirdly obsessed with this feud between Nancy Mace and Sarah McBride, the incoming first transgender congresswoman, and they are passing rules in the House, basically saying that she can't use the women's bathroom. It's just outrageous to me how she's being treated, and Mike Johnson's going along with it, and it's just this crazy, horrible embarrassment that we have these women out there like Marjorie Taylor Greene, predictably, and Nancy Mace, who are coming after a woman and going after her about what bathroom she can use. It just really upsets me, as somebody who's a regular user of women's bathrooms. You don't see each other's private parts. It's not like a men's bathroom that has places to stand up, and I would imagine it's a little less discreet. And so I don't understand what the issue is. I don't understand what the problem is. I don't understand what she's so afraid of and why she's so obsessed with this. And frankly, it's just a terrible, terrible statement about what our taxpayer dollars are going towards to pay the salaries of people like her who have nothing better to do with her day than to get resolutions passed about bathrooms. I just find it outrageous and disgusting. And I am absolutely in support of Congresswoman McBride. And I can't imagine how she must feel. This has to be a terrible, terrible thing to walk into Congress and have to deal with. So I just want to call it out and, show some support.
Yeah, I don't want to just clarify. I've been using men bathrooms for 58 years. I've never seen another man's anything in the bathroom, but if that's not your point, and the point is well taken.
I just assume because you guys have those urinal things,
No, but we don't look at each other's junk. But in any event, at least I haven't. But in any event,
we don't have anything like that. We have doors.
Yeah. No, I got your point. Look, the head of the Congressional Diversity Caucus has issued a statement on this and said MAGA Congress can't get a farm bill passed, can't get an appropriations bill passed, can't get anything for the American voter passed. The last I looked, the price of eggs is exactly the same price as it was before Nancy Mace and Mike Johnson decided that they were going to single out one member out of 538 and tell them they have to go pee in the corner. Maybe they should create, we'll go back to Jim Crow days. Maybe she should have her own, I don't know if it's she or they, but their own water fountain. That's what we're doing. This is what consumes MAGA. This is why they don't get anything done. It's going to be the only saving grace from Tuesday is that with the slim majority in the House, it's going to be another do-nothing Congress that gets absolutely nothing done. If this is what is occupying their minds in the lame duck session, to welcome their new member of Congress. There's supposed to be rules and decorum in the House. That's not the way to welcome a new person in who represents, whether they like it or not, a group of Americans who identify as transgender. And Nancy Mace and the rest of them should just be ashamed of themselves. And they'll have to answer for it in one day, either to the electorate or in the afterlife. But you're right. It's a good place. It's a good place to start. Let's talk about your old office. And so Alvin Bragg, rightly, I think all the prosecutors' heads were spinning after a Tuesday. It wasn't just us. And I think taking the lead from Jack Smith, the special prosecutor on the federal side, everybody said the exact same thing. It was like unprecedented circumstances. We'll get back to you on what to do with the continuation of our case. Now, both of those cases are in different postures. Jack Smith's cases are all in the prosecution indictment stage, moving towards a trial, but no trial having been set, motion practice, and things like that. But that's not the New York case. The New York case is not a case that can be dismissed. It's a conviction and a judgment that's already been entered. He is a convicted felon. And no amount of magical thinking or etch-a-sketch or presidential elect superpowers is going to change that. And they keep, I know Todd Blanche is going to be either the attorney general, depending upon Matt Gaetz, or the deputy attorney general, the number 2 spot, but he doesn't know crap about state court practice. You'll educate him at some point. There's no case to dismiss. We're in post-conviction, pre-sentencing world. And all the cases that they cite in their papers telling the judge, both in the first line and in the last line of their filing today, saying this case must be dismissed. The people of the United States have spoken, and that overcomes the people of the state of New York. And he's the president-elect. All right, good for you. They don't touch at all what Alvin Bragg's office told Judge Merchan just the other day, which is, we've got the solution, Judge. We understand there's a balance here, right? A competing balance. Public justice on one side and the sanctity of a jury verdict having spoken, and the public waiting to hear from a jury. We have that. And we got the office of the presidency. I got an idea. It's a temporary condition, this president-elect thing, this president thing. It ends in 2029. So let's do something with the sentencing and the imposition of the sentencing and the start of the sentencing in the future that gets over this problem. He can go off and be president, but when he comes back, we'll see him at the jailhouse. That's sort of their position. Of course, that drove Trump's lawyers crazy. And then they filed their paper. And why don't you pick it up from there about what their argument is, and then you can bottom line it about what do you think Judge Merchan's going to do later this week as we move towards, remaining days left on the clock until the inauguration and the 119th Congress coming in on January the 3rd.
Yeah, look, I've been saying for some time now that there was no way this case was going to proceed to sentencing since the election. It's logistically, there's just no way to do it because of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decided after the conviction in this case, United States versus Trump, they created this new category of immunity, presidential immunity. It applies to certain types of evidence. Justice Merchan has to decide whether or not that decision applies to the evidence in the case, because it happened after it's not like he could apply that rule during the trial because the case didn't exist and the law didn't exist. This is a brand new made up law thanks to the United States Supreme Court. So he has to make that decision, and that decision is appealable by either side right away. Not after the conviction. It's appealable. It's called an interlocutory appeal that happens before you can go anywhere else, before you can proceed. And since that happened, there was no way they would be able to get all the way up to the Supreme Court and back, because that's where this would go, right? The Supreme Court would love to hear about Donald Trump and make another ruling again. That just logistically can't happen before he takes office as president. Now, as a result, the sentencing was never going to happen. And I've been saying that now since November 5th. So, but we didn't know what was going to happen to the case, given the fact that they're going to appeal this. It's clear that Trump, through his lawyers, has told the Manhattan DA's office, we are going to seek a stay. We don't even want Judge Merchan to make that ruling now. We want a stay, a stop, a pause. Or in the alternative, we want you to dismiss this case. And that's what they're looking for. And so the question in my mind was, will they dismiss the case? And I'm sure people are asking, why would that happen? Why would you dismiss this case? What's the point of dismissing the case? The jury has spoken. And I agree with anyone who's saying that. They should not dismiss this case just because Trump's lawyers want it. And I agree that it shouldn't happen. And so they haven't filed their brief yet why they think it should be dismissed. They've outlined their arguments in a letter saying that they can't possibly proceed and do anything right now because the Presidential Transition Act, and then he'll be president. And without a doubt, there's nothing that can be done while he's president because of the Supremacy Clause. They can't interfere. The state court can't interfere with his federal duties, his Article 2 duties as president per the Constitution. And so nothing really can happen at that point. They're saying the same applies to his transition because there is the Presidential Transition Act, also a federal law that allows for the peaceful and orderly transition of power. And even if they have a point there, there's still no point to dismiss the case. So that's what's going back and forth, is briefing on whether or not the case should be dismissed, will be dismissed. But really, nothing is going to happen other than a ruling on that at this time, in my opinion. I'm thankful that the Manhattan DA's office decided not to dismiss the case. And hopefully Judge Merchan will just press pause, and then we can revisit it when Trump is no longer president of the United States. And that's where we are. And I think they made the right decision, and we'll see what happens.
I hope one of our sponsors is some sort of cold tablet or Kleenex or something to make you feel better. Sorry you don't feel well, partner.
No, I'm sorry to be so
it's all right.
My nose, but it's legal. It's legal AF. I'm not going to miss a Wednesday just because I have a little head cold. So
I know things the audience doesn't know about you, and this is a cold. That's not going to stop you from doing.
That's true.
Podcasting.
A cold is not going to stop me from being here on a Wednesday. So
No. So let's be efficient though, and respectful of your time and how you're feeling. I have nothing to add. That all sounds like the right approach. We'll wait for Judge Merchan, and you and I'll jump on some sort of duet hot take or something about it when it comes in. So let's move on to, oh God, I hate talking about Gaetz more than I have to, but I guess we have no choice. So Matt Gaetz, for those that are tuning in late to our democracy, Matt Gaetz was nominated to be the Attorney General. You know, it's funny. I was preparing a hot take about Rudy Giuliani over on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, and I was listening to Rudy's mayor podcast, like the mayor's podcast, number 557, day 8 of the transition. He's got like 9 viewers on it. But in it, while they were doing it, they have a producer like Salty, not as good, but he chats with the mayor during the thing, kibitzes with him. And right when they were doing this thing I was watching for this other matter, the Hegseth nomination for Department of Defense came up, and they were gobsmacked. He said, just in, Trump has nominated, Pete Hegseth, Fox, and this is how he read it, Fox and Friends, a war veteran, a military veteran, to be, and Rudy leaned in and said, communications director? And he said, no, Secretary of Defense. And he goes, wow, this is Rudy. Wow, not communications director. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. So this even flummoxed MAGA Goo in their reactions to these picks, which are just big middle finger trolling to the American people and the people that voted for Donald Trump, who he has absolutely no respect for. And the fact that he's going to make this country less secure is going to make this country less compromise its national security and make it a laughingstock around the world doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter. The only saving grace we got out of Tuesday is that this show, the Trump crazy shit show, it is going to be canceled in 2029. So it seems like a very far way off, but it could be worse because I don't really trust the American voter anymore. So it could have been re-upped for 8 years, and that would be worse. So we just have to cauterize this wound. We have to do damage control through lawsuits, challenging his executive orders, and try to fight off the craziest of his nominations. Now, Gaetz has a sex trafficking allegation problem. I don't know how else to put this. We've heard about this for several years. There's a guy named Joel Greenberg, who is an elected official in Florida, that's sitting on an 11-year sentence in the federal penitentiary because he was Matt Gaetz's wingman and did all the sex trafficking and raping of underage women and arranging it at parties in Florida that Matt Gaetz attended. The 2 women, then girls, have already testified to the ethics committee and to the Department of Justice, apparently, and have given affidavits that were filed in a lawsuit that broke out between Joel Greenberg, of all people, and another wingman who is a political lobbyist down in Florida, in which the political lobbyist said, you're defaming me because you say I hosted these parties that you arranged with these underage women, and that's a lie. And Joel Greenberg, who has nothing to lose, he's serving 11 years in prison. He went out with his lawyers and got all of their affidavits. And that's the file that got compromised and leaked, or hacked at least, not leaked yet. Hack first, then leak. It's the Matt Gaetz hack gate, right? You got the right. So they got the files. In the files are the testimony of these women, including the two now who are represented by Joe Leopard, who have taken to the airwaves and said, this is what we're going to testify to at any confirmation hearing. In the meantime, we've got now Venmo receipts. I didn't even know. Why do I have to know that Matt Gaetz adopted a 19-year-old Cuban man as his son? Why do I have to know that? And why do I have to know that he used that guy's Venmo account to pay off girls for sex, listing it as, this is depraved, talk about groomer in chief, tuition and reimbursement and party. Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah, we got it. You raped underage girls, as alleged. And so I got to know all that about a guy who's supposed to be the chief legal officer of the United States of America. Karen, why don't you update everybody from there forward? You've got a background as a sex prosecutor in the past, and what the committee did today, because they finally met, what the Senate Judiciary Committee may try to do, and what do you think is going to happen to the candidacy? And then I'll give some color off of that.
Yeah, so look, they decided that they are not releasing the report, which, you have to say to yourself, well, obviously, if it exonerated him, they would be releasing it right away, right? This is a bipartisan ethics panel that investigated this, and if it exonerated him, they would release it and be waving it around. So it's clear that he resigned. In order to avoid this from being released, he resigned 2 days before it was supposed to be released. And, he's going to go through this Senate confirmation process. I don't think he passes confirmation. I think he's the impetus behind why Trump was asking for recess confirmation so that he doesn't have to go through the hearing, because he can't pass any kind of confirmation hearing. I mean, he's, to be the chief law enforcement officer. I mean, that's why every single person, when he was nominated, said Matt Gaetz. I mean, that makes no sense. He is not in any way qualified to be the chief law enforcement officer in this country. Not only does he not have the experience, but he doesn't have the ethics and he doesn't have the judgment. And he has a problem with drugs and underage girls and sex. And he's frankly somebody who I think would be very damaging to our Department of Justice if he were the attorney general, which, frankly, I think is part of the point. I think that is what Trump is trying to do. He wants to dismantle our institutions completely. He wants to make it so that people quit, that nobody of quality works there. He wants to destroy our country so that there's nothing left but him, and him being a dictator. It's disgusting. It's a disgrace. But I don't think that he is qualified. I don't think anyone thinks he's qualified to be Attorney General of the United States, the most powerful appointment, some might argue, that Trump could make. I don't think he gets past Senate confirmation hearing, but I don't think he cares too much, because he's been reelected to the next seat and he has not resigned from that seat. He only resigned from the seat he has right now, or had right now. And that's almost over. And so for him, it's like, I buried the report. We'll see if I can get passed and get elected, or get appointed, and confirmed Attorney General. And if I can't, no big deal. I've already put Todd Blanche and Emile Beauvais right there as deputies, the two lawyers who represented Trump in Manhattan and in other cases. And they'll just, slide them right in, or as you did a hot take on this, or maybe it was on Saturday's Legal AF, you said Judge Eileen Cannon, you think she might get slid into that position. Anything is possible. I just don't see Matt Gaetz being the Attorney General of the United States. It's too important of a position. But then again, what do I know? He appointed whatever his name is, Hegseth, to be head of the Department of Defense, somebody who doesn't even think women should be in combat or in the military because men are better at it than women. He said something like, women are life givers, not life takers, or something like that. He is, so the people he is nominating and the things that are coming out of their mouth are so atrocious and offensive. I actually can't even believe it. And I have a lot of friends who work for the Department of Justice. I can't imagine any of them working for Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. The only thing I'll differ with you with, I think I've seen the resignation letter. He resigned from the 118th and the 119th. And Florida is going forward with filling the seat. So he's not coming back to Congress, even if this thing backfires on him for Attorney General. And at the rate it's going, I mean, Maggie Haberman, who I like a lot, is reporting from the New York Times that even though Donald Trump is publicly announcing that he's sticking with Gaetz and twisting arms and making phone calls, the two of them making phone calls, and JD Vance is trying to, he's going to try to shepherd this thing through the process. That privately he's told people that it's barely 50-50 that I can get this guy through, because they have a narrow lead. I mean, they got a 3 or 4 seat lead in the Senate in the 119th Congress that starts on Jan 3. And for those that don't follow politics and laws closely as we do, they start the confirmation process before the president gets sworn in, before Trump gets sworn in on the 20th. So they'll have a lot of these hearings potentially between the 3rd and the 20th of January. The question is whether the Joni Ernst, Republican, who was up to be head of the Department of Defense, and she's already expressed major reservations against some of these candidates, including the ones that have sex crime allegations against them, like Hegseth, who's accused of rape, and Matt Gaetz, whether Joni Ernst combined with a combination of Murkowski of Alaska, Collins of Maine, and a few other ones peel away and just say, no, we can't get comfortable with these picks, including Gaetz. And if you don't give me the report, we're going to have to ask him these hard questions during the confirmation and maybe bring in the witnesses, because the women have said, I think, that they're willing to testify at some point in some way in there. So I don't think that there's any way to avoid this. And I think there is there's a group of 3 or 4 breakaway senators that could put many of these picks at risk. However, balancing against that is you've got John Thune, the incoming Senate Majority Leader, who's on record. He gave an interview to Brett Baer in which he said, all cards are on the table. If the Democrats don't play ball and confirm the president's cabinet picks, even the recess would be allowing. I love the nuclear option here. Recess appointments, meaning the Senate would have to declare almost an immediate 10-day recess, artificial recess, in order to let Trump just appoint acting heads of all the cabinets for 2 years without confirmation process. And then again, are Ernst, Murkowski, Collins, and others, and Cornyn going to allow that and allow the Senate to be shit on by Donald Trump, who already treats them like they are his personal lapdog? Yes or no? And then what do we do in the courts when the senators try to abdicate their Article 1 responsibilities to advise and consent? Do we file, as when I say we, that's the royal we, that's the lawsuit filing we, do we file the lawsuits to get up to the United States Supreme Court about this artificial recess appointment thing in conspiracy between the two branches? That's not what the founding fathers and this Supreme Court loves talking about. Separation of powers, everything. It's like, it's their knee-jerk reaction to everything. Oh, separation of powers. Separation of powers wasn't properly analyzed by that court. No, the separation of powers doesn't allow that. Okay, how about here? How about two powers getting involved with each other and getting into bed with each other and conspiring to give the president superior power in what's supposed to be co-equal branches of government in a checks and balance system? You see the fights that are going to be raging. And the good news is the attorney generals around the country are itching for the fight. Many of them said, yeah, we thought it was a chance that Trump could win. We've been working on our plan for the last year, right? And so the question is going to be, if Matt Gaetz goes down in flames with a confirmation process, who's his replacement? Karen, what do you got?
Look, I want to just push back a little bit on Matt Gaetz. He's slimy, okay? He's as slimy as it gets. And normal people, you're right, that it looks like he, in his letter, said, I'm not going to resign, I'm resigning from both. But let's listen to his words. His words are, I hereby resign as a U.S. representative, effective immediately, and I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th. So he's resigning now, but he's saying, I do not intend. he'll just say, I changed my mind. I didn't intend when I said it. I changed my mind. I don't trust him. So I just want to put I just want to put a pin in that.
I wasn't saying it to embarrass you. I'm just telling you that DeSantis is moving forward with filling the seat, and Lara Trump would fill the Marco Rubio seat. No, he'd have to hold a special election like any minute now. So it may be, but there may not be enough time because if DeSantis goes forward with a special, I don't trust the guy either. But DeSantis doesn't like Trump. And so if DeSantis moves forward with the special election, that ship will have sailed. We'll see. It'll be fun to watch what Gaetz does if he gets shot down. I'm more worried about the cram down in the American people about these cabinet positions for 2 years without a real confirmation process. So we're going to have to follow it all. No balls today for the House Ethics Committee. A bipartisan committee couldn't find one Republican to side with the Democrats to break the tie. But the remaining question is, will the Senate Judiciary Committee still get that report and the one about Hegseth and the rest in order to do their job? Or is Thune going to pull the nuclear option, hit the button, and put it in and have everybody go fishing? They can't declare that without a majority either. I feel like every time you and I talk about these things, I feel like I took a time machine back to Andrew Jackson's period.
I know, right?
It's like bloody Andrew Jackson. And today, a senator picked up a cane and caned a man on the Senate floor. I'm waiting for that to happen.
I know. I mean,
totally
crazy. I know. He rode in on his horse and said,
yeah, right. Which is, by the way, we'll take a break in a second. That is the reason for recess appointments. It's because it took months to get the Senate and the Congress to come back on horseback to Washington from the 13 colonies and from the other states. Yeah. I mean, eventually states. But that's why. It's not because all right, we could.
No, you're right. It's crazy. That's why that exists, so that there's a continuity, so that if there's an opening that happens to occur at that time, they can temporarily fill it while the horse, is coming into town.
Wait 3 months for the guy to get here from Massachusetts. We got an attorney general position to fill.
Exactly.
Right. And all right, we're going to talk about. we're going to cover a lot more here on Legal AF, including what happened to Rudy Giuliani. Oh my God, it's just like the fact that I have to keep talking. I take a shower every time I talk about Rudy Giuliani, but we will. And the Jan 6th judges are apoplectic about what to do now that there was an election on Tuesday with people in front of them, and all the Jan 6 defendants are jumping up and down, all excited. Give me the pardon, and some of them haven't even been sentenced yet. And what do you do about all that? So we were going to cover all of that. Thank God, after Tuesday, this network, this channel has sponsors. That's a good thing. And they know what we're talking about, and they know how we talk about things. And it's so important. I just saw a stat that was put up by Brian Taylor Cohen in his social media feed, which I thought was fascinating, which is that all of social media, including YouTube, is dominated by right-wing viewpoints. Right-wing podcasters and posters and all, even YouTube. And that just reminded me, it's so important that this pro-democracy independent network survive and thrive and grow. We don't have outside investors. The way we do it is the way you're seeing it. We find amazing sponsors that like our point of view, who don't edit us or try to censor us, who support us, that want to be on the show. And then we do other things. We've got other podcasts like Mistrial that Karen co-anchors on Thursday with her friends and colleagues, Karen Rice and Danya Perry, former prosecutors. We've got a new channel that we built right before the election, not because we wanted just to help Kamala win. We wanted to be there on the other side of Tuesday, regardless of what happened. And that's Legal AF, the channel, Legal AF MTN, doing at least 6 to 8 videos a day, every day. We got some great contributors from around the Midas universe, including Karen and Dina Dahl and Shan Wu and Court Accountability, all over there with me. And I'm sort of the curator, executive producer of everything on Legal AF there. And then the sponsors we talked about. And then we got Patreon for Legal AF, patreon.com/legalaf, with some unique custom information and interviews and talkbacks with Ben and me on there on a regular basis. So those are the ways to support it. But now we got a word from our pro-democracy sponsors. I spend most of my day in front of a screen and a microphone. And this used to mean I spent a lot of my day sitting. The research on sitting for long periods has been linked with various conditions such as poor heart health, bad posture, diabetes, and the list goes on. This is why I love Uplift Desk and their ergonomic desks and chairs. A standing desk can help lower your risk of disease, improve your mood and focus, boost productivity, and increase your energy. I use my Uplift Desk every day. When I'm standing up thinking with a cup of joe about how to prepare for my next hot take or podcast episode, I'm not staring into space. It's my most productive ruminating and cogitating me time at my Uplift Desk. And only when I'm on my feet do my creative juices really start to flow. The option to move while I work promotes better circulation, which can reduce all types of different health risks and repetitive strains. Uplift Desk helps you build your custom dream desk by choosing from over 100 desktop choices and hundreds of accessories. Their desk configurator lets you build out a complete workstation with storage, seating, wire management. Listen, when I used it, I had my perfect dream standing desk that I've wanted for over 30 years configured in less than 10 minutes. I had loads of fun configuring my Uplift Desk, starting with picking my tabletop. I went with a beautiful walnut butcher block, added white legs and storage drawers, wheels for mobility, and a number of cool cable management and pop-up and power grommets for my perfect custom Uplift Desk. I especially like the different control options and memory settings that puts the desk at just the perfect height for me and lets my wife join in on the productive fun when she visits at the office too. We've got a special deal and it's exclusive to our audience. When you visit our link at upliftdesk.com/legalaf, you're going to get 4 free accessories. Free same-day shipping, free returns with free shipping, and an industry-leading 15-year warranty that covers the entire desk, plus an extra discount off your entire order. That's upliftdesk.com/legalaf for a special offer, and it's only available at our link. Work better, live healthier with Uplift Desk. Traditional bed sheets, they can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat. It can lead to acne, allergies, and stuffy noses, and it's just gross. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, antibacterial bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth and require up to 3 times less laundry. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, no matter the weather. So you get better sleep every night. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Go to trymiracle.com/legalaf to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo, LegalAF at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/legalaf to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Let's be real, guys. Wearing nice pants sucks. Who decided that stiff, uncomfortable fabric squeezing your, family jewels was the key to looking sharp? Well, here's an early holiday gift from me to you. Those days are finally over. Public Rec's Daymaker pants are here to make sure you stay comfy and classy this season. They feel like your favorite sweats, but look like tailored pants. Yup. super stretchy with an elastic waistband so you can rock them anywhere. Whether you're kicking back with holiday movies or making your way through leftovers or watching bowl games with the boys, these pants have you covered. Heck, they'll even keep you looking sharp for that awkward holiday party with your in-laws. Give the gift of comfort to yourself or someone you love this holiday season with Public Rec's Daymaker pants. And right now, it's their biggest holiday sale of the year. The Daymaker pants are my personal favorite and have become part of my everyday podcasting uniform. And my wife likes the way they look on me, front and back. The Daymaker pants come in 10 unique colorways, from navy, dark olive, and stone gray. You're sure to find the right color for you. Their proprietary blend of performance materials provides the perfect combination of breathability and stretch while still holding its form. You'll never want to take them off. Public Rec not only has the most comfortable pants ever made, but they have a huge selection of high-quality everyday basics. You can revamp your entire wardrobe with their perfect fitting polos, shorts, and hoodies. Stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a very limited time only, shop their holiday sale and get 25% off at publicrec.com. That's publicrec.com to unlock the best savings of the year. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Give yourself or someone you love the gift of comfort this holiday. All right, welcome back. Jan 6th, trial court judges in the District of Columbia federal court are struggling under a weight of submissions and requests and demands by all the Jan 6 insurrectionists, including the most violent ones, frankly, about delay the sentence, avoid the sentence. Don't set a trial. The inauguration's around the corner. I'm getting a pardon. And different judges are handling it in different ways. Some of the judges, especially if it's a misdemeanor that's being tried, like Judge Contreras, are like, why don't we save scarce judicial resources? This guy's probably going to get a pardon. So let's just avoid the trial until after the inauguration. And I'm like, really? Why don't we have the American people know what he did and see if he gets exonerated or convicted, and then we can see what the pardon does for him? How about that? But then on the other side of the spectrum, you got judges like Judge Friedrich, who she came out with, no, I'm going to sentence you. The one violent criminal who got an 8-year sentence was like, I'm going to get a pardon. I'm going to get even restitution. I'm going to get paid back for my suffering. And she says, well, you can tell that to everybody at the end of your sentence. I'm sentencing you to 8 years. If you can get your pardon, good luck. I mean, she basically said that. And now we got this new Judge Nichols. And I'm going to turn it over to you right now. But Judge Nichols, he fires up. I just get so pissed off at Nichols, with these crocodile tears in court about, well, I hope Trump doesn't give a blanket pardon. That would be disappointing. You know what's disappointing? The series of decisions that you made leading into this point. He was the judge for Bannon. He didn't make Bannon go in after he was convicted by a jury. He let him sit out for a year. He lost his appeal. Then he put him in. And he's the judge that set us on the course of the Fisher decision. He's the judge that said, I don't think you can use Department of Justice, the highest level charge you're using of obstruction of an official proceeding, because the insurrectionists or the defendants in front of me didn't get their hands on the actual certificates because they were locked in a little leather strap box. And therefore, that's not obstruction of an official proceeding the way the statute is using it. We were all like, what? That's not the impairment, impeding, obstruction component of it. It couldn't possibly be that. But that was the first decision that ultimately the Supreme Court, even though it was reversed by the D.C. Circuit Court on appeal, when the Supreme Court got it, they sided with Nichols in his analysis. And now we're stuck with, opening the jails and letting out all these people who were hit with obstruction of an official proceeding. What person in their right mind doesn't think that the purpose and goal of the Jan 6 insurrectionists wasn't to attack and burn down the Capitol in order to stop the count and stop the transition of power to Joe Biden? What do they think they were doing? What do they think the gallows was that they erected and trying to run through the halls of Congress looking for Nancy Pelosi to assassinate her? What do they think that was? It's just, these judges hermetically sealed in their ivory towers, and making all, and contemplating their navels. It just pisses the crap out of me. What do you think about what the Jan 6th insurrectionists are doing, how the judges are reacting to it, and then, of course, Nichols?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Carl Nichols ruling, or actually expressing that he's like, what, wholesale pardoning of all the Jan 6 thing would be very, very disappointing. I didn't expect that from Carl Nichols for the reasons you just said, right? He seemed to be somebody who we knew he clerked for, I think, Justice Thomas, and he's somebody who, as you said, seemed to be sympathetic to the Jan 6ers when he made that strange ruling. But so he came out and said, look, anything close to a wholesale pardon for the Jan 6 group would be beyond frustrating and disappointing. And, look, when you think back to all the people who have been prosecuted, it's more than 1,500 of them have been charged. More than 1,200 of them have been pled guilty or found guilty to date. There's been over $3 million worth of damage. 5 people died in the aftermath. 140 officers were assaulted. It's just crazy how much stuff had went on. And, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Trump likes to call them all patriots. Trump likes to call them all, people that he wants to give these blanket pardons to. But I think the judges who have been slogging through those 1,200 pleas and trials, right, of guilt, that's a lot of people that these federal judges have sat through in Washington. And it's really something that they're all different, right? Some of them are very violent, dangerous criminals. Some are individuals, as you said, charged with misdemeanor trespass. Some have criminal histories. Some arrange to have guns brought, et cetera. Some are oath keepers and Proud Boys, and everybody's in a different position. And so I think the judges would be, and the prosecutors and everybody, the police officers, the people who are affected by this insurrection would be extremely frustrated and disappointed, including Trump-appointed judges like Carl Nichols, if Trump were to just wholesale pardon all of these individuals. Of course, I think we can anticipate there will be a lot of pardons and there will be some pardons. But, look, it's a rare thing to have a judge make a comment like that, especially about something involving a presidential grant of either clemency or a pardon. So, it was interesting to hear that and to hear him say that. And, so he recognizes the futility of going forward right now because people might get pardoned. And so he's adjourning cases to conserve judicial resources. And we are where we are because Trump's been elected.
Yeah. I mean, the crocodile tears for these Jan 6 people. Throw the book. Here's my position if I were a federal judge. Sentence them. Try them. I don't care about the inauguration on January 20th. If you've got work to do, you got wood to chop the wood between now and January 20th. And if Donald Trump's going to wholesale pardon or case-by-case pardon or whatever he's going to do, then the American people should know what he's pardoning, because there'll be a list, and sleuthing will bring to bear and bring out into the public domain what these people did. I mean, the guy that's in front of Nichols, and here's the upshot about the Nichols hearing, where he went back and forth with the assistant U.S. attorney, is that the guy that he was having the colloquy with is representing himself. He's been indicted for 8 felony counts, including 3 related to assault with a deadly weapon using a metal bat against law enforcement, and representing himself. And he's one of the poster boys for the Jan 6th hostages. You can find him online, all sorts of he's a hostage, a political prisoner, and all. He's making great hay of it. At one point, when they were talking about the speculative and conjectural Trump future pardons, the assistant U.S. attorney said something along the lines of, well, I could learn to bat my eyelids and fly to the moon, or there could be a hurricane and a tornado hitting at the exact same time outside this courthouse, but that's not going to happen either. To which this guy had the balls to say out loud in court, because he's representing himself, there is a tornado and a hurricane that's hitting, and his name is Donald Trump. And Matt Gaetz, here's the Matt Gaetz, bringing it back to where we started. Matt Gaetz is going to clean house with the Department of Justice, and I'm going to get. The judge was like, "This is not helpful." It's like, but I would have told him, "Sit the F down and until you're spoken to, sit down." But at the end, the judge delayed the guy's trial. So it's all this like hand wringing and, oh, it'd be so disappointing. But I'm going to start your trial in February, maybe. Now, he says it wasn't for the reasons, but come on. It's obvious. Sentence, try. Do your job until you're out of a job. I mean, that's all you can do. I have one question for you before we switch gears and talk about Giuliani. The Department of Justice, as in all prosecutors' office, is made up of a lot of individual career prosecutors, right? That stay even after there's a change at the top. Some is new at the very top leadership position, but like the line prosecutors that are below it, the institutional, the legacy, what Merrick Garland, in addressing the troops a couple of days ago in a tearful farewell, it was almost like George Washington's goodbye, said, you are the Department of Justice. You are its legacy. You are its institutional knowledge. In other words, imploring them to stay if they can, because Gaetz could never fire everybody. All the U.S. attorneys are going to get canned. They're all going to have to hand in their resignations. And if they don't, they'll be publicly flogged like they were the last time. So they all got to go. Top leadership is all going to be replaced. But then you got, the workaday assistant U.S. attorney. Do you think they should stay or do you think they should go?
So that's a really tough question because these are the best of the best. It's very hard to get a job as an AUSA. It's very hard to get a job at the Department of Justice. They call it Main Justice. There's some lawyers, a lot of lawyers that work there too. They get to pick and choose their cases. It's not like when I was a state court prosecutor, I worked for the Manhattan DA's office. You just get every single case that the NYPD makes an arrest and you have to prosecute it or not, or you have to process that case and deal with it. It's different with the Department of Justice. They get to pick and choose what they want. They get to pick and choose their priorities. There's a civil rights division. There's, all kinds of various divisions throughout the Department of Justice. And it kind of reflects the priorities of leadership, right? There's, for example, they have a child sex trafficking section, right? Where they do computer child porn and computer cases where, pedophiles go online looking for underage kids. Like that's a huge, robust part of what the Department of Justice does. Will Matt Gaetz continue that program? I mean, who knows, right? They do terrorism cases. They do the biggest cases across the country, the most important cases across the country. And, these cases are difficult. These cases are not easy to do. They take an incredible amount of work and they're all bigger cases and they rely on people like the FBI or the Secret Service or other law enforcement agencies to build the cases and bring the cases to the prosecutors, and then they do the cases together. Trump is looking to wholesale kind of bring in people like Matt Gaetz who not only are not qualified or dangerous. The question will be, will these people work for somebody like Matt Gaetz? And that's an open question. I think there are people who are concerned. I think the lower line prosecutor is probably less concerned because it won't really affect them, at least not in the beginning. But supervisors, for example, or other career prosecutors who are there for a long time, I think some might have an issue with working for someone like Matt Gaetz. And I know for a fact some are considering resigning and leaving. And that is both in the FBI and law enforcement side, as well as the lawyer side of the Department of Justice.
Which ones? No, I'm kidding.
And, there's a lot of people who are trying to convince their friends not to leave because no matter what you think of the president and whoever he appoints, our nation depends on these incredible people continuing to do their job to keep us safe. And no matter what people say, these aren't political prosecutions. This is not a political body. It really is has a history of being neutral and of upholding the law and really kind of it was Biden's Department of Justice that prosecuted Senator Menendez, right, a Democrat, or Mayor Adams of New York City, a Democrat, right? It's not something they don't look at the person's political party and say, okay, I'm going to go after them. Yeah, that also prosecuted Trump because he committed crimes, right? Like that's where the without fear or favor comes in. That's where that phrase comes in, and that's where you follow the facts wherever they lead, and without fear or favor. That's what prosecutors are supposed to do. That's why the symbol of justice is a woman holding two scales, and she is blindfolded, because justice is supposed to be blind. What's terrifying about what's happening here is they're looking to transform that. And my hope is that the excellent prosecutors stay, so that the excellence will continue long past this stain on our country. And
they have an outlet, because if they get pushed to do something that they do not believe in their heart of hearts, a part of their professional ethics that they can do, at that moment they can resign. None of them have to do anything. That if Matt Gaetz says, I don't care, your prosecutorial discretion, I'm the attorney general, you're going after that person. No, I'm not. At that point, you can resign. But until then, I agree with you. I'd like to see these career apolitical heroes stay there to help as much as they can from the inside restrain the worst instincts of Matt Gaetz. I mean, look, obviously, if it's Matt Gaetz, he's been given a babysitter. It's Todd Blanche, who at least was in the U.S. Attorney's Office for a period of time. At least, he's going to get confirmed. And so he's going to be the bench coach for anybody that's not qualified like Matt Gaetz. He's going to be the chief operating officer of the Department of Justice, which is not unusual. I mean, Lisa Monaco is basically running the day-to-day operation for the Department of Justice, not Merrick Garland. And that's the counterpart for Todd Blanche. So you got that going on for you. But look, there's going to be a moment where the rubber meets the road, and a prosecutor that you've just described is instructed to do something that they find morally and legally abhorrent. That's when you choose. Until then, if you can hold on, it would be better for America to have those people inside, because even though Donald Trump wants to fire 5,000 civil servants and hollow out all of the federal agencies, starting with, the ones he wants to get rid of. Like I read Linda McMahon was nominated to be the head of the education department. What's her first task? To put the department out of business? I mean, that's the one they want to get rid of. So, but as many of the civil servants and main justice prosecutors and things that can, FBI agents that can stay and try to rein in the worst instincts and not be an enabler, maybe a disabler of what Gaetz and Trump want to do, I think the better. Although I love if it was a movie, them marching out, right? Coming out the front door of Main Justice and saying, no way are we supporting these people. But you're right. They're not really supporting the people. They're supporting justice. And we need them there. That's for sure. We're going to talk about Rudy Giuliani and stay in Washington, D.C., but we have to do the thing that keeps the lights on and keeps our network and our channel moving. It's part of the gasoline, because we're independent. And even though we've got high motors as podcasters, we've got people that depend on us, and we depend on in our organization. We don't take outside investors. And so we bring in pro-democracy sponsors. And so we've got another round coming up here. We've got the new Legal AF YouTube channel, another way to support our channel. It's at Legal AF MTN, Legal AF MTN. We got some great new content over there. We're sitting 24/7 at the intersection of law and politics, not blowing smoke or sunshine. So if you've enjoyed it on the Midas Touch Network, you'll love it over there. And I invite you to become part of our audience. We've got other podcasts for others of our contributors here on Legal AF, including Karen Friedman, Agnifilo. Check out Mistrial on Thursdays. You want to tease any content for tomorrow?
Our Mistrial is, we like to talk about women-focused, women-centered issues primarily. Obviously, things that are at the intersection of law and politics, which is sort of the Legal AF, bigger Midas Touch brand, of course. But those are the those are the topics we like to talk about. So, and we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from women who say it's been great to have a place to hear women's voices and women's perspectives and strong women. So we're really happy to be able to provide that. And so, that's what we focus on.
Okay. All right. And that's going to be on Thursdays here on the Midas Touch Network. And we've got the patreon.com/legalaf. Got merchandise, store.midas.com, whatever it is. We'll put up the 4.5 years. I haven't gotten that right. Store.midastouch.com. Got some great t-shirts and designs there as well. But now we got another word from our pro-democracy sponsors. Well, I found it after years of searching. A healthy and convenient dog food for my Lily, giving her delicious nutrition without having to deal with back-breaking freezer boxes. Sundays. It provides natural goodness with a superpower, air drying, using human-grade, nutritious, all-natural ingredients and here's the superpower part, that doesn't need a fridge or freezer. Now, when I stare deeply into Lily's eyes, our adorable Borodor rescue, I can tell her that I have her back, and I'm giving her healthy and nutritious food that she will relish every time. No more messy bags or containers that require me to buy a freezer to hold a month's supply. And Lily chows down each and every bowl. With Sundays, you don't have to choose between healthy dog food and a dog food that's easy to store and serve. Sundays is fresh dog food made from a short list of human-grade ingredients. Sundays even has a chief veterinarian officer. Its co-founder, Dr. Tori Waxman, a practicing veterinarian who tests and formulates every version of each recipe. Sundays contains 90% meat, 10% superfoods, and 0% synthetic nutrients or artificial ingredients. Dog parents report noticeable health improvements in their pups, including softer fur, fresher breath, better poops, and more energy after switching to Sundays. Unlike other fresh dog food, Sundays does not require refrigeration or preparation because of their air drying process. Just pour and serve. And when you start a Sunday subscription, you'll automatically get 20% off and free shipping on every reorder. Cancel or pause your subscription anytime with our 100% satisfaction guarantee. Every order ships right to your door, so you'll never have to worry about running out of dog food again. And my absolute favorite part, we don't have to figure out how to move super heavy freezer boxes around or clog up our freezer and fridge with bags of dog food. Because Sundays uses air drying, you can store it in your pantry or cabinet, which makes it super convenient. As we head into the holiday season, you don't have to wait to make a New Year's resolution to start giving your dog a healthy diet, and one that won't break your back or your wallet. Get 40% off your first order of Sundays. Go to sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf or use code legalaf at checkout. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now look, I won't lie. I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially. But then, while hanging out with my fantasy football draft crew over at our favorite Jersey Shore sports bar, I gave it a shot. And believe me, it's the real deal. I spent the entire next day doing all my favorite things with my family, including a long hike on our favorite trail. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol, and I wondered what it was actually like. But now that I've tried it, I believe the hype. And with their GMO technology, they will release different products that help address toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/legalaf to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LegalAF at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/legalaf and use the code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. Have you heard about this new bioactive whole food that seems almost too good to be true? It's got thousands upon thousands of 5-star reviews and literally life-changing testimonials from users. Just having witnessed firsthand the birth of my baby daughter this summer, I know that colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life and contains all of the essential nutrients our bodies need in order to thrive. Armra colostrum is a proprietary concentrate of bovine colostrum that harnesses over 400 living bioactive nutrients that strengthen the barriers of your body and fuel cellular health for thousands of research-backed health benefits. It strengthens immunity, ignites metabolism, fortifies gut health, activates hair growth and skin radiance, powers fitness performance and recovery, and confers powerful anti-aging benefits. Armra colostrum is premium bovine colostrum concentrate, and unlike any other product on the market, it is uniquely optimized for human health, sustainable, and was developed with the highest integrity from start to finish. Armra starts with sustainably sourced colostrum from grass-fed cows from their own co-op of dairy farms in the USA, and they strictly abide by calf-first sourcing, only sourcing the surplus supply of colostrum after calves receive all the nutrients they need. Unlike most colostrums, which use heat pasteurization that depletes nutrient potency, Armra leverages their proprietary cold chain biopotent pasteurization technology, an innovative process that preserves the integrity and bioavailability of hundreds of bioactive nutrients. And Armra colostrum's unwavering commitment to quality control is evident throughout our entire process. They go above and above industry standards and invest in an expensive auditing and third-party testing and analysis pipeline to ensure Armra colostrum meets the highest bar of purity and efficacy, which includes being certified glyphosate-free. Armra colostrum fortifies gut health and ignites metabolism, combats bloating, and you'll feel lighter using it. Probiotics are touted as a gut health solution, but they only address one part of the 4-part gut wall, and most products on the market are dead before they even reach your gut. Armra colostrum naturally fortifies your entire gut wall system, optimizing your microbiome and strengthening the gut wall architecture, which guards against irritants that can trigger symptoms like bloating and constipation. We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/legalaf or enter legalaf to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/legalaf. Welcome back. Rudy in trouble again. See, I thought turning over that 1980s Mercedes and like losing his Palm Beach home and making him homeless and penniless would make him a changed man. Nope. He's got a podcast nobody listens to or watches called, I don't even want to tell you what it's called, but I know this audience isn't going to go there anyway. The Mayor's Podcast, episode 537. Wow, it's amazing. And he says stupid crap out loud, including attacking the very women that he owes $150 million to because he attacked them about the exact same things. He owes $150 million to Ruby Friedman and Shay Moss, the mother-daughter team that were just doing low-paid and no-paid jobs of counting votes in Fulton County, Georgia. He owes them $150 million for many reasons, but one is he accused them of committing voter fraud. But they were passing a hard drive. I don't think he's ever seen a hard drive. That's the other thing. I don't think he's ever seen a hard drive. Thumb drive, maybe. Hard drive? No. But passing a hard drive, this is his words, to each other, which represented in Rudy Giuliani's mind proof positive, in living color, to use his words, of a computer manipulation. They were sticking the hard drive somehow into the Dominion voting systems machine in a conspiracy with Venezuela Right. This mother-daughter team from Atlanta is now in a conspiracy with Venezuela, Dominion and Smartmatic. Okay. And they have the proof they have the proof of it. Okay. They were counting votes. What he said were fake votes for Biden under their desk was just them counting the votes and locking them in a black case under their desk, which is proper counting procedure. And the thing that they were passing between each other was a breath mint. How do I know? Because the Georgia FBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, already cleared them of that, already looked at the entire surveillance video, not the slice and dice thing that Rudy Giuliani used on his show against these people, and proved it. And he was adjudged by, actually the judge as a sanction, Judge Beryl Howell, because he violated 9 different orders, found him in contempt and gave him the death penalty, meaning she found liability, a default judgment against him, and sent it to the jury just for the amount of money. And when they were done with him, it was $150 million. But to avoid further litigation, because he kept losing his lawyers because he had no money, he entered into a consent decree, a consent judgment that said he would never, never, never defame these women again. Never. And then the election happened and everybody lost their minds. And he had to make content for a podcast and started kibitzing on the podcast about the judge and these women. So now what's happened, Karen?
Yeah, so look, I mean, he went out and defamed them again. He did the very thing that he's not allowed to do and made the same accusations again, saying that they quadruple counted the votes and you know, all the same things that he promised he consented to do. He agreed to do permanently. There's a permanent injunction, and in less than a year, he's back online doing the same thing. You know, he's like trying to be a mini Trump where you just do whatever you want and there's no consequences. That doesn't seem to apply to anyone else. It only seems to apply to Trump. I'm not really sure why, but so they filed I think it was like a 14-page filing, essentially asking the judge to hold him in contempt, hold him in civil contempt. And my question for you, Popok, is what can happen when you're held in civil contempt?
Mm-hmm.
Can you be put in jail? Is it a fine? He has no money. So what are the remedies?
Well, you're right. And this is the problem that the lawyers representing Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss, some very fine lawyers at Wilkie Farr and Gallagher who are doing it for free. They've told the judge, how do we shape the contempt here? The sanction for contempt. There's 2 types of contempt. There's civil contempt and there's criminal contempt. Civil contempt is where you start. It's like a progressive discipline. The judge finds you in civil contempt first, usually for violating an order, which is what happens here. And then the judge, using their inherent authority, has to shape a appropriate sort of symmetrical sanction for it. Usually that means money. So it's almost always money for civil contempt, a fine, a per day fine until compliance is met. But it's weird here because he already violated it. And so the fine's got to be like a sanction for a prior violation. But as you noted, he's penniless, or he says he is. So what? And they've taken all of his money except for some. Now he's still earning some sort of income over there on Podcast World. And he's going to the inaugural and somebody's paying for that. He's got money that's hidden around. So what the lawyers for Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss have said to the judges, you need to hold another mini trial. You need to have an evidentiary hearing about this. And we got to figure out what he's got, where it's hidden, and what would be punitive against him to punish him for doing what he did. It can't be that he's so penniless and so assetless that no sanction could ever be fashioned. He's sanction proof because he's got
nothing. He can't be held in jail, right?
Because he's got not yet. That's so 2 types of contempt. Civil first. You can't go to criminal just because the civil didn't work. But if civil is violated, like if let's say she's going to hold this evidentiary hearing. She took one look at the filing this afternoon. It was this afternoon. And she already issued her order, Beryl Howell. Oh, by the way, on the podcast, he also bashed Beryl Howell. Like he was never going to see her again. Like it was some sort of ex-wife he was never going to see again. Like instead he said, and this outrageous judge, this Jan 6 sentencer, she's outrageous. I'm like, oh, here we go. She took one look at this motion and she said, yeah, let's have everybody December 12th in my courtroom, including you, Rudy Giuliani. Huh?
He thinks he's Trump, bashing the judge, just doing what he wants. I mean, that's where he's learning.
But they're not. There's only one guy that's got that superpower, the guy that was president and is president again. Everybody else doesn't have that immunity, doesn't have that. So now he's got to go back in front of this judge with who, I don't even know what lawyer he has anymore. They all quit him. He's lost another lawyer. He picked up another one recently, but they don't want to work for him because they don't get paid. So God forbid he shows up by himself. Oh, Lord.
So he turned over his apartment in New York.
Yeah.
He turned over the Mercedes that he showed up to vote in.
Yes.
So he
watches and rings.
Watches and rings. Did he also have to turn over the Palm Beach? Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. And Judge Lyman said, let's have a hearing on that. And let's do it on the 20th of January. And he said, I'm going to be at the inauguration, Judge. Can we do it on the 22nd? We're waiting for Lyman to tell us whether he's going to give him another couple of days off. Now this evidentiary hearing, which is not going to be canceled, on the 12th of December, or at least the hearing to talk about an evidentiary hearing. So she's going to have to take evidence. Then the judge, I'm back with Beryl Howell now. Then judge is going to say, all right, here's the fine. 10% of whatever you're making on the podcast. What did you make on the podcast where you bashed these two? You had sponsors. Somebody kept the lights on. You forfeit all the profit from that. I mean, it could be unique like that, a very customized fine, right? So you don't benefit and profit from the defamation. That's what I would do. I would say, how much you make? 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000? What you make? Yeah, okay. Let's see all your records. Let's see all your files. And then he's now moving towards criminal contempt, because if he doesn't do whatever she tells him to do, which this guy, is so out there, he could violate that. She could give him one more chance, and then she could say, I'm going to find you in criminal contempt. Now, the problem with criminal contempt, which sends you to jail, is that you have to have the keys to let yourself out in your pocket. And that's why, for instance, reporters who are ordered by a judge over their First Amendment rights to turn over the information about their sources, and they don't, and the judge puts them in jail until they are willing to come out. The key in their pocket to get out is that they give up the name of the source. Some journalists have stayed in jail for like a year to avoid that. Eventually they get let out because the judge realizes that no amount of jail time is ever going to make this person speak. And you can't just leave them there and throw away the key. That's not the way criminal contempt works. But we're not yet at criminal contempt. But if civil doesn't work, she could move to criminal.
I wonder if you can move to, because there's a third kind of contempt as well, which is like what Steve Bannon was prosecuted for, right? Contempt of Congress, or there's state court, also criminal contempt, that you can receive the punishment of jail or prison. So I wonder if there would be a referral to a district attorney's office, because of course the feds aren't going to do it under Matt Gaetz, right? But I wonder if there is a way to refer, and I just don't know the answer. I'd have to think about it.
I don't think so. I think it stays within the inherent authority of the federal judge. I think. I've never seen in my life a federal judge refer anything to a state prosecutor as a local crime issue, because they have so much, with federal judges, they have so much inherent authority to fashion their own remedies for people thumbing their nose and flouting and what we call contumacious conduct. But it's going to be what's the word I'm looking for? A shit show on December the 12th with Rudy, either because he's not represented by counsel, he's going to try to do this himself. Another DIY project by Rudy Giuliani. Get ready for that one. He better bring his toothbrush. I mean, he might act out in court and get taken in at that moment, for that kind of contempt. That could quickly escalate to criminal contempt if he starts insulting the judge and doesn't show her respect and starts acting out in court because he's so crazy. He could end up in jail for that one. So we're going to watch that case very, very closely. But you hit the nail on the head earlier. These people, Bannon, Giuliani, the Jan 6th defendants, everybody that followed Trump into the abyss, into the heart of darkness, all think they're him, but they're not. That's the problem. Trump walking around free man, he even got reelected or elected president, right? These guys, all the judges are looking at them unanimously and saying, sit down. You're not the president. You're not the president-elect. You're going to jail. And then you got the pardon issue, which only works. So that magic trick only works for federal prosecutions. And to answer the questions that often come up in the chat, Donald Trump can't make the $150 million judgment go away. Can't wave it away. He can't, that's a civil federal judgment. And the pardon power is for crimes committed or to be committed. So, the next thing we're going to be talking about, not the next thing, but as we get over the holidays and into the first day of the, I hate saying this word, it's like sticking in my throat, the Trump presidency on the 20th of January is going to be, we know he's got two giant stacks that are going to be put in front of him, right? First stack is the executive orders, day one orders, dozens of them, that we're going to have to challenge in various federal courts. And the other one is this giant stack of immediate pardons. It's going to be the first time in the history of America, I think. I'll have to go research to see if it happened during the first 5 or 8 presidents. Coming in, he's going to be pardoning people. And it's going to be a long list. It's going to be like everybody affiliated with Jan 6 in the House, in the Senate, in his inner circle. Everybody's getting a pardon. And then the Jan 6 insurrectionist. And what idiot on his presidential transition team is really going carefully through all of the charges against these people about the really violent ones that are serving 8, 10, 15, 20 years in prison, and the other ones like misdemeanor trespass? Who's doing that? Who's responsible for that? I haven't been impressed with anything coming out of the presidential transition team. So who's doing that? But somebody's in charge of it internally. Some of these Jan 6 defendants have said, we've been in contact with the presidential transition team. Yeah, good. Speaking of pardons, let me end the show on this note. The real question for me, speaking of pardons, is going to be, what does Joe Biden do with his pardon power? Don't give it up. Don't abdicate it. You earned it. You earned it. If anybody earned using every ounce of power left, everything left in the battery and in the gas tank, it's Joe Biden. That's why we're watching he and his people in the White House, Chuck Schumer and Durbin, working overtime. I mean, strap on the diapers, everybody, because they're sitting 24/7 over the next 60 days to try to get the last remaining 30 or so federal judges confirmed. It's that important to our democracy that Biden, who's only got one term, surpassed Trump by a good margin, 30 or 40 total federal judges, to help keep the balance in power. That's why Trump is losing his damn mind, along with J.D. Vance. No more confirmations of judges. No more until Inauguration Day. Not happening. He got his people confirmed off his one term. He had 18 that were confirmed in the waning hours. We're going to get our 43. But it's going to take hard work and focus, laser focus, to keep the Senate Democratic majority in the lame duck 118th in place, to win every vote when it's put up, 49 to whatever, 50 to whatever. Because if the Republicans all showed up and the Democrats all show up and Manchin votes with the Democrats and we get one Republican vote to make that happen, we win every time. We just have to get the votes up for all these judicial appointments. That's one. 2 is the pardon power. 2 on the top of my list right now. 1 has got a name, Hunter Biden. Give him a pardon. I don't care what you promised. Now's the time, because if his name was Hunter Goldberg, I assure you, he would not have been prosecuted for these crimes. Owning a gun for 12 days, when he lied on an application about having a drug addiction, 12 days he owned that gun. And tax evasion. He would have paid his taxes, which he did, and he would have gone to jail for it. And Michael Cohen. I mean, is anybody in more jeopardy in America right now than Michael Cohen? His nemesis has been returned to power as the most powerful person in the universe, who he testified against, who he served time in jail for. Michael Cohen needs a pardon and a commutation of his sentence. He'll never get it any other time in his life. I think that's what Joe Biden should do. The American people, I think, would find that to be fitting justice. Karen had a kind of dash off. As people noticed, she wasn't feeling that well. She asked me to end the show, which I will do for her. Don't forget, there's many ways to support our show. We got an amazing audience, shoulder to shoulder with us in every way. And we love our community. Tell your friends about the show. Have them come back. Hit that subscribe button on the Midas Touch Network. Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button over there. We had 50,000 or more people join us since the election day over on the Legal AF YouTube channel. We've got the Patreon, which we've talked about. We've got our sponsors. Please support our sponsors. Just don't watch the ads. If you can afford it and you like the items, we like the items. We all tried them, get them, use them. Then do it. It helps. It really, I can't explain to you how it helps, but it does help us keep our network growing, alive, independent journalism. We're watching corporate media bend over backwards and forwards to try to get back in Donald Trump's good graces because they're scared shitless. Can we beep that out? Because they're scared of losing their FCC licenses because of all the interrelationships between the oligarchs and billionaires and Donald Trump and his transition team and his new commerce secretary and his new this secretary and mass media. And they're freaking out. You know, C, Mika, and Joe heading down to kiss the butt and whatever else down in Mar-a-Lago. We're not doing that. We're independent journalists. Nobody tells us what to say or how to say it. Not our sponsors. Nobody. Even my producer doesn't know what I'm about to say before I say. I mean, he's got a general idea after 4 years with us, but the same thing with Ben Meiselas, same thing with the brothers, same thing with the other contributors here on the Midas Touch Network. I think that's why everybody's here. We don't blow smoke or sunshine. We tell the truth. We give our best reasoned opinion in a way we think is helpful to you. And that's why, but we couldn't do it without you. So we thank you from the bottom of our heart. So until our next midweek, of course, with Karen next Wednesday, this Saturday with Ben Meiselas and me. And now I'm also doing sort of semi-regular Popok Lives on Tuesday night. I'll do another one this coming Tuesday night. It's the one night that's sort of dark for us with podcasts. So I just kind of stepped into the breach and said, all right, I'll do 45 minutes on a Tuesday night. So we have a couple up right now, Popok Live Tuesday nights, and then, of course, over on our Legal AF channel. So until my next content, wherever it may be related to Legal AF, this is Michael Popok signing off.